Hi, I'm Enchanting Newbie Annette. Welcome back. And if you're new to this channel, welcome. YouTube family, today I'm going to bring a chilling news story straight from Sao Paulo, Brazil. The victims, as you can see in the picture, are Ana Maria de Jesus, 52 years old, and her daughter Larissa de Jesus Castillo, only 21 years old. Very unfortunate that both women, they fell ill June 8th through the 9th of this year, just after eating a single piece of leftover birthday cake. Now, this cake, everyone, had been delivered to their home. There was a party previous to the delivery, and this particular piece of cake, strangely enough, was not even served at the party. So the suspect was very intentional. Now, Larissa, she passed away at home after 40 minutes of resuscitation attempts. Ana Maria, she passed away later in the hospital on July 29th from the poisoning complications to her internal organs. Very sad for both women. Now, police classify this case as a double homicide plus attempted homicide by poisoning. Also, I need to note that a 16-year-old relative who also ate some of the cake, but a very small amount. Thankfully, that relative has survived. Now let's continue on information regarding the delivery. Now, multiple news outlets reported that the cake was brought to Ana Maria's house by a male relative. Definitively, he was a nephew. And this cake was delivered the day after the party. Now in Brazil, they have CCTV as well, and it shows that the delivery was around 11:31 a.m., right before noon. However, the rest of the cake was served at the celebration. It didn't make anyone sick. Isn't that puzzling? Now, this led the investigators to suspect that only the piece that was sent to their house was actually tainted. So once again, the suspect was very deliberate, very intentional in order to harm the mother and her daughter. Now, the toxicology reports, let's focus on this because the early forensic indications does point to pesticide or insecticide, but not an arsenic. And this was discovered in both the victims' bodies, where the slice was also recovered from the home. And it also aligns with the theory that the targeted portion was adulterated. So that is very, very, very terrifying, everyone, to think that a family member did this. And we know that, many families, especially, in other countries, they're very, very close and they have extended family. And as you can tell, they had a party, a celebration. It was a festive occasion, and several other people were there, but only 3 people were sick. And unfortunately, again, 2 people passed away. So young, 52 and 21 years old. So at this time, let's talk about the status of the investigation. Because this case sits with the DHPP, the Sao Paulo's Homicide and Personal Protection Department. In mid-October, police executed a search and seizure warrants, and they definitely seized the phones for data extraction. They wanted to see the communication. If there is more evidence that states, how the suspect was communicating with the victims, if there was maybe hostility, if there was, threats, very menacing words, or, a plot, for example, some information. So as of the last credible reports, no one has been publicly arrested or even charged yet. And there still isn't any sentencing. Very, very devastating. It's still an active investigation, though. Thankfully, those police officers, law enforcement, they have not given up, especially because 2 people passed away. And this is horrible. They need to be very, very diligent with this investigation, and the suspect needs to be held accountable very harshly. Because just imagine, if someone knows someone or has an acquaintance, a so-called friend, a frenemy, or any other relative that will copy this type of method in order to transition someone by poisoning them. So they need to have a very harsh sentencing, and that person needs to be in jail for many years. So let's now talk about the cousin. Because honestly, YouTube family, when I looked on social media, it stated that the cousin was very revengeful. The cousin plotted for the mother specifically because of money that was owed. However, you'll see, like I said, in social media posts, it says that the family owed the cousin money and that the cousin sent this cake out of, revenge, ill will towards the cousin. And that specific motive and that exact relationship still hasn't been confirmed in the vetted reporting. Because on the flip side, everyone, the Brazilian news outlets, they have stated that the family members as persons of interest around the delivery, and note police are questioning the relatives. Still, it's ongoing. However, they do not confirm that there was any debt. So they don't even know of this story in Brazil. So that's the reason why they haven't charged the suspect right now. They're still, seeking more information. So you know how on social media, YouTube family, how, people will put another spin on it, on the crime. There's a lot of different accusations, and, people are, putting information into the story, such as false information just to, attract more viewers, clickbait, and have shocking details. So it is not confirmed, once again, that there's any debt. And in one widely read piece, police are saying that they're looking at the niece's husband and his wife. So this article in Brazil and these news reports regarding a niece's husband and wife are mentioned various times. So it's an investigative focus, but still there's no formal charges. However, it states that they need to treat the cousin debt revenge narrative as unverified and is still pending an indictment. When I first heard this story, I said, oh my goodness, why haven't the cousin, been arrested right now? But again, they have not pinpointed the motive. So regarding persons of interest, the investigators are still scrutinizing the relatives who arranged and also delivered the slice. They're focused on those devices as well, the phone, because they're seized for analysis. Names haven't been published by the major news outlets yet, and that's why no charges have been filed. So this is still very horrific because it's, again, deliberate, and it was targeted poisoning, sending this specific piece of cake that had the pesticide and even insecticide in it. Horrible for someone to plan to cause the passing of someone like that, especially a relative, someone that you know very well. So again, I don't have the details It's not known what was the relationship, what was a conflict, the issue. And we know when it comes to money, it usually brings out a very, negative side out of someone, especially if someone feels slighted and, they don't have a lot of money to begin with. But the thing is, everyone, you have the power to say no. When someone asks to borrow money, doesn't matter how they plead, if you are not comfortable lending the money, and for example, they cannot pay the money back, don't even offer. Offer to help in another way. You have the power to say no, number one. And also, perhaps you can work out something with a person as far as having a payment plan. You can get small portions, maybe 3 months, 6 months, or even up to a year, instead of having this, animosity towards each other. And again, if someone borrows money from you and they do not pay it back, then you can wash your hands of that person. You can say, you know what? I tried to help you out. I was there for you. I supported you. But I can tell that you don't have, the respect for me. You don't have the, responsible ways or intention to even give the money back. And I need it now. So, there's always other solutions, but not to cause someone harm in that way. So this story, everyone, it definitely sent alarms off in my head. And I'm sure it's the same for you. This is definitely a nightmare scenario. Just to think that a familiar type of dessert, a cake, a delicious, well decorated, tasty cake sent by a family member was weaponized. Horrible. And could you imagine for the family members and any, community members, anyone who participated in the party who was having, a joyful time, laughing it up and having jokes and, just enjoying themselves. And then one minute you're doing that, the next minute the person has to be rushed to the hospital because of a medical emergency that was intentional and they're no longer here. That is very traumatic. So everyone, this is very terrifying. It also focuses on trust. You know that you have to be very, very wary, very vigilant of who is in your circle. We all have, acquaintances, people that we are not that close to. What about those people who you think that that you really know their character and you don't? What about the people who are in your inner circle that you're telling your innermost feelings to, that you don't even question their intentions? You really have to be vigilant and know exactly who you are sharing your life with and being very open to. This focuses a lot on trust. Even if it's a family member, you have to know everyone's true character, even if it's a spouse, partner. So unfortunately, this has left this mother and daughter who passed, and it was, again, so early for them because the mother was only 52 years old. Her daughter was only 21. She didn't even begin her life as yet. I'm sure she wanted to fulfill maybe her education, maybe learn a trade, meet someone, get married, perhaps, have a family of her own. And her life was cut short. And we still don't know why yet. This is family trauma, community trauma, but it's also a heads up to everyone. So everyone, thank you so much for watching. And I also want to say before I go that there have been other high profile cake poisonings recently too. So that's another reason why authorities really need to be very, very stringent and sentence this suspect very harshly, because there was another news story regarding a Christmas cake also, with arsenic in Rio Grande do Sul. So there was a woman named Dais Mora dos Anjos, or Años. She was arrested and then later found passed away in jail while awaiting trial. So this was another case regarding poisoning, unfortunately. And, the bottom line is, everyone, that they were intentionally targeted also in that case regarding another part of Brazil. And we also need to focus on being very cautious when, certain foods are leftovers or even delivered foods, because you never know, why someone is truly intending to give you this so-called gift, right? And remember, I don't know how this cake tastes. Maybe it tasted delicious, but if something does taste off, it doesn't taste right, it doesn't taste as fresh, stop eating it at once, and also seek medical attention if you're feeling very, something that your stomach is maybe very queasy, you're not feeling your normal self. Get attention, medical attention immediately, and tell the doctors that it could be a possible pesticide poisoning to speed up the right tests that need to be taken on you. And that's why it's so important when, we have deliveries, because everything needs to be tracked, such as the time, the person who is delivering the item, and even the packaging. And when it comes to food, we also need to know the timing, because that has a huge effect on the freshness of the food and how it can impact your health. So thank you again for watching, everyone. This was a very horrific story, and my condolences to both the mother and daughter. May they rest in peace. And I definitely hope to hear that the relative gets held accountable very soon. So please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Stay safe wherever you are. Thank you.